There are 14th Amendment citizens. This is the Constitution.
Listen, the most lawless people of America are in government. Anyone in government who does not uphold the Constitution, both state and federal, are lawless.
My name is Christopher Gronsky. I live in New Hampshire. Live free or die, you know.
He has helped Americans from around the world eliminate their income tax liability through his passport process.
It's like once you see the matrix, you can't unsee it. It's just there, okay?
Well, welcome to Destination Freedom. I'm Christopher Gronsky. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for that opening video, Michael. It was really nice. Love that stuff. That is Poker Face, great band. I always love their sound. It reminds me of Deep Purple, and it's just really passionate and stuff like that. So those guys are great. I'm working on getting those guys to show up down at in Acapulco in Puerto Vallarta for next year. So we'll see if that plays out. And yeah, so if you follow Jeff Berwick and you'd like to support seeing Poker Face come down there in the concert, just reach out to Jeff and let him know that you're looking forward to seeing Poker Face. Tonight, we're going to deal with a subject matter that it's preparing your children for freedom. That's a broad subject, but I want to talk about some of the financial stuff in that. Before we do, I just wanted to say that we have a studio audience of two. Actually, you can't really consider my son Michael as part of the studio audience. He's working in the background, checking out, who is. Let me see. I just want to make sure that we can see. Oh, you're able to see who's out there. Okay, I don't have to mess with that. That's good. Yeah, so because we're broadcasting live on YouTube, and if you're on YouTube, I'm glad you're here. And be sure to like and subscribe, all that sort of thing, so that the algorithm works. And, we can build this and let more people know that they can make a better choice and not be a federal 14th Amendment citizen subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And that they can be a citizen of their state or the country of their state where they have their habitation and domicile. And glad to help with that. If you want more information about that, you can always go to DestinationFreedom.org. Let's put that in the chat. That should come up, right? Well, if we put in Destination Freedom in the chat, then we can put it up on the screen. That'll be cool. You'll be able to click on that or do something with that, be able to see it. Also, if you want to reach out to us and you'd like to set up looking for more information, or you want to begin the process, or you need some help along the way, just reach out to us at statecitizen@destinationfreedom.org, and I'll be glad to follow up with you. And there you go. See, that's where you can email us, and someone will get back with you and at least point you in the direction of the website so that you can take our foundational class, State versus Federal Citizenship, the Unknown Choice. Then when you can see who has an income tax liability. And we promote exactly what the IRS and the federal government says about who has an income tax liability. That would be U.S. federal citizens, that's citizens of the District of Columbia, and resident aliens. That's who has the aliens that are not citizens, aliens that are residing in the District of Columbia. Funny thing, on paper, they're residing in the District of Columbia. Most aliens in America are not residing in the District of Columbia. So even though they're on paper resident aliens, the truth is they're non-resident aliens. And yet they also don't have a tax liability either. But you're swearing under penalty of perjury something is true, correct, and complete, and most people have not a clue. So anyway, we're helping people have good paperwork and straighten things out so that they can determine whether they have that income tax liability or not. So tonight, we're talking about preparing your children for freedom. So we've seen, and we only deal with clients. That's who we're helping and educating and things like that. We don't educate the general public because we don't know who you are or what you're doing. We don't know what commitments you have or what paperwork you have. If we have no knowledge of what you're doing, if we give you certain information, you may make the wrong choice or it may create a liability for you. And also, we don't want that. We want to help people. And so therefore, we only help clients. This is very private work that we do. So most of us clients that are my age, younger, whatever, is a lot of people have birth certificates and social security numbers. Not that you have it, but the federal government has it, and they're now using that as an identifier. Even though years ago, social security cards used to say not for informational purpose only, or would say not for identification. Now the federal government literally says they're requiring or requesting social security number for identification purposes. So now it's the opposite. Before, like most things the government does, it lies and then it lies again. You have to figure out whether they lie in the past or are they lying now. It's sometimes challenging. But with respect to the passport process, it's not a big deal if you don't have a social security number. So we encourage our clients, if they have new children or whatever, don't get a social security number. You can function without a social security number. It's not a problem. And of course, you can get a U.S. passport without a social security number, but you have to, the State Department requires you to fill out an oath, if you will, that the Social Security Administration has never given you that there's never been a social security number issued in your name. So that's something we deal with the State Department when we're doing the passport process, especially for our clients where their children have no social security number. But we've not been able to overcome. I still believe there's a pathway, but we've not been able to overcome children or people who have no birth certificate of obtaining passport. And I recently got some information, and I'm not sure where we're going to look it up. And typically when people pass information on to me, I have to look up all the statutes, the codes, the court case. I have to look it all up to make sure it's saying what it is that they're meaning. So there seems to be a pathway. And of course, we're going to move down that way, especially for our clients that don't choose to have a birth certificate. But if you have a birth certificate, it's no big deal. And of course, that's going to be declaring what your nationality is, because it's going to be describing, the state or the country of your nativity, your nationality. So anyway, we would recommend that people not get Social Security, not enroll their children into the Social Security Administration. So that's what it is. They don't have to have Social Security. And then also, when we do work for our clients, I always tell people that you're not going to do these processes while being employed by a corporation, because the corporation is not going to go down any pathway with you that's contrary to them doing what the tax code says, because typically these corporations have EINs or tax ID numbers, TINs or EINs. And so they believe their company is in the District of Columbia, and therefore they're going to follow what the tax code says as if they are in the District of Columbia. Whether they are or not, that can be debated. But they're doing withholding and all that. So we don't have any provision for clients if they're still employed. So we don't recommend that. So anyway, I want to talk a little bit about preparing your kids for freedom. And the biggest thing that I was thinking about was financial freedom. Now, your responsibility, and what I'm not going to get into is how you're raising your children up. But if you're going to have your children understand freedom, they're going to have to understand that relationship with God or the divine or what's natural. And if they don't learn how to self-govern, they're going to look to government to govern them in some capacity, because the principle, one of the best ways to eliminate government from your life is through self-government. And like I said to my children for years growing up, I would say, if you don't govern yourself, someone else will. So it's much easier to learn how to govern yourself. And that's really in your raising your children up, is teaching them how to discipline themselves. And so discipline, or really the principle of self-restraint, is a powerful principle to learn for yourself. This is where people will learn to save as opposed to wanting something new and now. Or if you have something, learning how to repair something instead of buying something new again, or having a disposable society. Is that his or his? It's no problem. You just leave it on the other desk, Michael. Oh, I was going to say earlier about that is that we'll have a studio audience of one. My dear friend Greg Linlin is in the audience. He's not really in the audience. He's in the office here. He's going to be over here. He ran out to get some vegan pizza. Didn't like the meat on ours, I guess. That's sad. Enough more for us. That's good. Anyway. So dealing with your children, teaching them to govern themselves or to self-restrain is an important principle to learn. Here, I will give you a, you can look this up on Google or whatever it is. There's a book. I cannot find who the publishers or to locate the author, but the author of this book called End of All Evil by Jeremy Locke. You can look it up. It's a free book. Don't pay for it, not unless you want to buy an actual hard copy, but it's a free PDF on some sort of Google Books or whatever it is. And but you can find it when you take the state citizenship class for Destination Freedom. We have a link, and you can download that particular book. That I call a freedom primer. And so it is a great foundation for understanding principles and truths that you can rely upon instead of statute and code. I would not, I mean, if you wanted to teach your kids to understand the concepts that are in the Declaration of Independence, yes. When most people will say, well, teach the kids the Constitution, is teach your kids your state constitution. The federal Constitution has brought us this mess that we love. Yeah, I'm afraid so. And listen, I'm of the opinion the federal government is actually upholding the Constitution. They're handing out cash. Okay, that's what they're handing. That's how they get into the states, is by handing out cash, and then regulation and control comes with that. Okay, that's what they're into. They're like drug dealers, and that's how they're in bed with big pharma, big military industrial complex, big education, all that crap. That's all designed to be in the District of Columbia and not in the states, unless the states are whoring after money. Okay. So I'm not an advocate of the federal government at all. I want to see an end of this wicked union. And it's not that I'm not for some unity in America. Let's go back to the Articles of Confederation. That's enough. It's enough. Don't give these people more power, because they've demonstrated that they cannot manage themselves. Hell, they can't even balance a freaking budget. They keep borrowing money. And listen, there's no administration that's free from borrowing money. Matter of fact, this current administration borrowed more money than anybody's ever borrowed in the history of America. So it's not like he's the righteous guy with respect to the budgets. It's unfortunate. But again, you know, teaching your children principles that you care about, and whatever your morality is, you know, the dance of, oh, here's our studio audience back. Yeah, you can put it here if you want. I mean, you can set it there, but I won't eat your vegan. Did you get a vegan one?
Huh?
Did you get a vegan one?
No, vegetarian.
Oh, vegetarian. Okay. You didn't care whether they harmed
I like
something.
the cheese.
Oh, there you go. You got the cheese
And I
there.
had a
That's
beer
good.
while I was waiting. So.
Oh, and there's a cold beer in the fridge.
know,
There,
well,
too. I
I'll
got one
come.
more. It's on the bottom one.
Okay.
I put some other ones. There you go. You got that.
There you
That's
go.
cool. So anyway, if you find me distracting this particular one, it'll be Greg's fault. And he's
My
now
fault.
Greg, he'll be here visiting for a couple weeks. We may do a special broadcast with him if it doesn't line up. Next week, I'm going to be in New York City with my wife. We got some freedom thing to do there, and so we won't be doing a broadcast next week. And unless, of course, I talk to Greg about subbing in and do a substitute.
You got one comment?
Oh, we have a comment already. Okay, well, let's get in there because I was going to get back to. I don't think I can see the comments.
Pop it up.
Yeah. I'll read it and I'll say it says, "How can we transfer an automobile into trust?" All right. Now that I'm not going to get into that right now because I'm going to talk about kids and all, but I will answer that before we wrap out tonight, so I can give you some, some suggestion on the transfer of that. It's a quick answer. I'm not gonna, but anyway, we'll deal with this when kids. I was talking about kids, and we're talking about teaching your kids. Of course, here's the challenge or the joy of teaching your kids your faith or your religion. Okay, the whole purpose of a religion or your faith or whatever it is to have a basis of morality that you believe that you're as a standard of truth for yourself, that you're disciplining yourself for in every category. But your religion or faith is supposed to be dealing with your morals and your values. And how often does that come up, Greg, where we're talking about people being consistent with their morals? Because listen, and again, everyone knows I'm a Christian, all that, but those two things, those two principles, commandments or whatever, is like, don't lie, don't steal. I mean, if a society was just don't lie and don't steal, you're doing far better than most. And of course, if you didn't have your politicians lying and stealing in every category of stealing your life, stealing your money, that alone would transform any society into a better society, regardless of where you credit that to. But here's the principle so your challenge is, however you're living your faith, it's your kids are learning less about what you're teaching them verbally or whatever. They're watching who you are. And so whatever you're living is what they're going to model more likely. They're going to be like you. Make it good, okay? Don't be a hypocrite. Of course, don't worry about the idea of being a hypocrite. Hypocrisy is a thing humans do. It's not good. We all strive to be against it, but that's what we're up against, is being true to your faith or what you believe. Be authentic, So, but you got till they're 18, and then they're on their own. If you're going to try to manage your kids over 18, the relationship shifts because they become more responsible for themselves, at least from a legal standpoint. But don't be so hard on your parents once you become an adult, because the older you get, the smarter your parents become. That's a principle, and you realize that your parents weren't so bad, or you find out that your parents were pretty real. And, they're screwed up, and nobody comes to the table all figured out, because the moment, you never knew how to raise one child, never knew how to raise two and how that works together. I remember one of the biggest things that I learned, and again, you can see this in the scriptures, as well as there are like two things dealing with your kids and the siblings, was don't bother your brother, don't bother your sister, don't bug your siblings, and include your sibling. Don't bother them. Include them. Don't bother them. And that's the way it's saying in the scriptures. Love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and your neighbor as yourself. I mean, so love it. What's the golden rule? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I mean, so that whole principle is part of raising kids. But you got till they become an adult. Now, the amazing thing. Oh, that's nice. Well, that's very kind. We'll have to find out who posted that. I'll go look that up. That'll show up in the video. That's cool. Well, that's very kind of you. You're so kind. But the idea of wanting, it's the same thing for adults. You want your kids, your siblings, to recognize and love each other when that's challenging for siblings. And sometimes it's very easy for siblings to just like hit it off and stay connected. And the other thing is don't violate them. Don't hurt them. Don't bother your brother. Don't bug your sister. Stop hitting her. That's the whole basis of society, is to treat each other well. And again, like I say, is that it doesn't take much maturity for you to say, hey, I don't want my rights violated. It does take more maturity to recognize that I don't want their rights violated. I want their rights secured, and to stand up for your neighbors and your family that their rights aren't violated is important. That we're not alone in that, and that's really, the base of that. So getting it to raising your kids up, one of the best ways you can raise your children, okay, because I know that answer, and that is if you love your children, you will pull them out of fucking government school immediately. Don't worry. Here's what I can promise you. If you didn't educate your children and were at home, is better than what abuse, neglect, and crap that is going to go on if they're part of government school all day long. That's the truth and the reality. Now, the only thing, listen, I went to government school, and if it weren't for the theater, choir, those two things, I wouldn't have cared for school at all, because those are the only two things that were worth going to school for.
Howard Power and Gene Burns? Huh?
They're in this area here. Those talk shows were good. I didn't grow up
Gene
listening to
Burns?
that.
You never listened to Gene Burns?
As an adult, I did, when I started listening to that stuff. But anyway, the idea is about school is, extracurricular activities. And if you're homeschooling, just so you know, because you're probably paying property tax, you can enjoy any part of government school you want and still homeschool. Just if you didn't know that. They don't like that if you came in and sat on, you're learning German or you're learning some language or whatever. You're paying for it, butts in seats, property taxes. What a fiasco that crap is. And right now in Texas, they're examining how bad property tax are. And then DeSantis down in Florida was saying, when you buy something, you might pay a tax on it, but you shouldn't have to keep paying on that property that is allegedly yours.
Hallelujah.
And he's saying that.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. So I mean,
Property taxes are immoral.
if they deal with that, and holy moly, take education out of that property. See, when they tied that into the state funding it, and they did that with property taxes, that's a crime. Because I can make the record, and I should probably do this, that government religion, where people believe that government is God, how many of those are out there?
Yeah.
Holy moly.
They replaced the big G with the big L.
Yeah, so they think the government is God, is supposed to meet all your needs, all the same thing. They're judges. They wear funky outfits, dresses. Listen, if you want to know that it's something screwy, is when, other than the Scottish, that when the men are wearing dresses, there's something wrong there, okay? And if they're like wearing black dresses, there's something wrong. If they got a funky weirdo hat, now the Grand Poobah things, you saw those are funny, because then you knew that, if you got the big hat, you're in charge. But when you start wearing costumes and shit, there's something wrong with that. So, but anyway, if you love your kids, take them out of school. Man, you're going to, and if somehow you shouldn't have to pay for educational stuff if you take your children out of school.
Voucher system.
If you're using government schools, then it's a privilege and you should pay for that. And I'm also of the opinion that when adults get to a certain age, man, they shouldn't be paying for any type of taxation at that age. They've been taxed all their lives. There should be something that, you don't have to give them a handout, but stop harming them, at least that. So getting back to the kids, one of the things that I wanted to share with you about preparing your kids for freedom is preparing them for financial freedom. And of course, helping your kids to understand how real money works. Not, I always think it's funny. It's like, well, we're going to teach the kids how to pay taxes. And I was like, shut up. We need to teach kids about paying taxes. Teach kids about the Declaration of Independence and when taxes are too high. And if you can talk to them about how small and puny the taxes were back then, that they're willing to say, I'm going to meet you in the village green. The answer is no. And listen, in the big scheme of freedom things, just like we saw in the pandemic and the COVID BS, listen, if you won't say no to your government on some level and some aspect of infringement on your rights, if you won't even say no to the government, I promise you're not going to shoot anybody. It's never going to happen. You won't have the courage to shoot anybody if you won't even say no. That's just folly. So all you Second Amendment guys out there, make sure that you're clear where your line is in the sand. Okay. So getting back to your children and what they're doing, I'm suggesting to our clients is this. Now, most kids will start working at 16. Now, in general, children should work as soon as they're able to stand up. You see children on farms, the little kids have the little basket, they're grabbing eggs under chickens, they're watering. There's a lot of work kids can do around your house that teaches them discipline and what's required to be in a household. It's important. Do the dishes, and do it with a great attitude that you're contributing, not like it's a punishment. Because kids that learn how to work, give them something to steward, take care of, that they are part of that. That's important disciplines, right? Listen, I grew up in a military family. Every month they had inspections on the military base that we were in housing, and they came in with white gloves. They dragged their fingers across the top of paintings. They're checking for dust. Try that on your house. We had demerits and stuff. I mean, things had to be clean. That's a certain level of discipline.
Did your dad do that?
Oh, mom and dad, we all cleaned house all day. Now, the thing that was beautiful about cleaning the Gronsky house was Saturday morning was going to be chores, right? Mom would be cranking Tom Jones and all this rock and roll and music. That's right.
Whoa.
So all that music was playing, and mom would, when we had work to do, she'd say, "Let's make a game out of it." And, we'd be working and doing chores. We remember that. And now, as we're all grown up, we look at that time as been exciting. And I play loud music when I'm working. It's a lot of fun. But anyway, getting back to the kids, I want your kids to retire at age 16. Okay. Do not prepare your children to work for corporations. End of story. The idea is prepare for your children to have their business at 16. You're working it with them, whatever it is. But give them something that will make money for them. Either buy something, get something, so that the thing is creating wealth for them and it's not tied to their labor. Listen, working in general is good because when we're serving each other, it's healthy for you to serve other people. That's the purpose of work. When a society that serves each other is a society that's loving and kind. And of course, people get compensated for the things they do. There's nothing wrong with that. But the idea is help your kids not create go looking for jobs, especially outside of your house or especially outside of what their joy is. If you could find out what your children's joy is and get them moving into that direction, and look, their first business is not necessarily their last business, and people are learning what they like and as they come of age. But if you prepare them for their business, well, here's what will happen. And look, this kind of business, when we do this work, is you're not doing this business in public. Everything public is governmental. Every transaction you do is private. Okay. And of course, you're not going to have your children form corporations, LLCs and all that. Because when our clients come on, we shut down all corporations. All transactions are private. And listen, take a look at how that all went with this COVID crap. Governments showed you big business, no problem. You could walk around Walmart all day long with each other. You could have Walmart full. Small business over there, they're going to shut your doors. If you have a private business, they can't shut your doors. And we knew some of our clients that were their storefront, they said closed. They let all their clients know you could come in the back door. That's a private transaction. And that happened. This is where speakeasies came from, right? This is when they did prohibition. And all of a sudden, people were still wanting that. And they realized, just like they did that, they found out that this COVID bullshit was bullshit. They found out that what you make illegal creates a mafia, and that making prohibition. But the better thing about the government at that time was, in order to make alcohol illegal, they literally had to amend the Constitution. And then when they found out that was a shit show, they literally repealed that. That's much better. What I think is astonishing that the federal government would be saying that marijuana is illegal in any capacity at all, while it's legal in the fucking District of Columbia. Go figure that. How stupid is that? And you know how you know that's stupid? Because the states put up with that horse shit. That's how you know it's stupid. Anyway, getting back to the kids. Teach and set up your children to, what's that song? That's
Teach your children well.
Teach your children well. That's
National.
there you go. See, now I play that song for them. So anyway, but you're teaching your children to run their own business, because they can. Here's two things that'll happen, and this will happen for you too. Stop working for corporations, because when you work for yourself, you're serving other people. You get to determine how much time you spend at what you do, and you can determine how much you want to get paid for it. And that's power, and that's liberty, is being able to make those determinations. So by the time your child becomes 16, find out what business they'd like, their first business they'd like to have. Now, look, like we always say, when you're working for a company, you're the goose, okay? And the company makes more money on you than what it costs them to pay you. And so you're the goose that lays the golden egg. All right. You're the goose that lays the golden egg. You're the goose, and they take care of you, and they get the golden egg every time. When you run your own business, then you're still the goose, and you're laying the egg. You get the golden egg, and you're still the goose. When you own the business and you're not the operator, then you now own the goose, and you may have to take care of the goose, but you get the golden egg, and you're no longer the goose. That's what we're after for you. Now, the best kind of work to do is where you're doing your joy. And it's an interesting dynamic, is if you're going to get paid by the hour in some capacity, then make sure you're actually doing your joy to where it doesn't feel like work. And that could be anything. It could be something artistic. It could be something, whatever you have talent in. And the truth of the matter is, you can develop and learn an art. It can be learned. And something that you're saying, like, wow, this doesn't even feel like I work, to where when you get up in the morning, you're so excited about doing your thing. If you were getting paid by that way, and then of course, the beautiful thing about that is when you're in your joy, and it's really your joy, you're bringing beauty to people. And so what I'm making up about it is, if you're really in that joy, then people get to see a piece of the divine in your life. They get to see that divine part of you. And so you're bringing value to them, and they get to enjoy that. And many will compensate you accordingly. And it can be in any kind of thing. And certainly in arts and, crafts and things like that. But at the same time, that guy that does finished carpentry, where it's his passion, he's like, oh, wow, the day just flew by again. I'm in my stuff. And then you step back and look, and you go, oh my gosh. I mean, I get chills. Just like when you're in the theater and you got that theater magic, or you get that best song and you're getting those chills. That's what we're talking about. That's the magic of saying, like, oh my word, that is extraordinary. And listen, all this technology out here, there's nothing evil of it in and of itself. Because if it was bringing value to people and it was bettering their lives, and it wasn't being used to take from people or violate them in some capacity. And typically, whenever you take something beautiful and you add government, which is force, that's when you make it, you pollute it, you damage it. You take something good and then you shit on it. What does that look like? Take, say, religion or faith, add it to government, you just made something bad. Take business, which is great.
Catholic Church.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Take business, which is good, and then you add government. Now you add force, bad. That's all corporate crap. Yeah, exactly. And so anything out there that's good, you add government to it, it's gonna, like my dad used to say, anything government touches turns to poop. He didn't say poop, but you know what I mean. But anyway, the idea of that. But that's what I want to invite you into, is to be preparing your children by the time they get 16, and then you get to have them be working things till by the time they're 18, that they actually have a business. Now, here's the beauty of it. When you are doing your part, this is again the kind of a family vibe. If you're actually helping your children get into their own business and you're doing work to help them do that, and it's not about control or it's not about that, it's about setting them up, then of course the business is there. Then your part of it is your retirement, is there's benefit that comes. Maybe you're working for the company in some capacity in consulting or whatever. That's part of your joy, being with your children. And just like I would say to my ex-wife about the number one purpose of homeschooling, I would say to her when there was struggle times, I said, listen, the number one reason that we're homeschooling is so the kids can be with you. That's the first thing. Education second, but just that your children can be with you is the best thing. And really, that's the way these family businesses play out and all that. And listen, relationship is a crucible, and certainly a loving relationship. If you have commitment in those kind of relationships, then it can handle heat. But that's where you're getting into character transformation. There's a good series out there. If you care about delightful series, you ever seen Ted Lasso?
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Extremely well written, heartfelt.
Mm-hmm.
And the beautiful thing about that was, of course, they're dealing with soccer, or as they say, football,
Mm-hmm.
right? And really, Ted didn't know anything about it, but his way of being was about having people be their best in their own life, whatever it is about. And so if you had a whole team of people all striving to be their best character, their best kind of people, how can you not win? And whether you won the game or not, you still won because of the relationships that were fostered and what came about. Oh, I highly recommend that. It's only 3 seasons. I'm finishing up the second time that my wife and I are watching that. Delightful. My brother's watching it.
Series.
Extremely well written.
Unless you
Excellent.
are offended by the F word.
Oh, there's some F-bombs. Yeah, Roy Kent. He's
Roy.
everywhere. He's everywhere. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, listen. Like I would.
It depends on the age you.
Like I would teach. I don't recommend that for your children. That's your for adults and all that stuff. Yeah. And listen, we taught our kids that profanity has a place in language. If you're always dropping F-bombs, if that's your linguistic atomic bomb, then you're wasting your breath, if you will. You're wasting that. And so, if you say this is reserved for when it's powerful, and I'll tell you, when you're dealing with people and you're using profanity and they're like, oh, you shouldn't talk like that. You say like, no, listen, if you're offended at my words, and you're not offended at what government's doing to people, right, you got something wrong there. I'm using my words. You know the benefit of using the F word? It's so you don't choke people. That's why you use the F word, And so the idea of, so children have to learn to use their words in a powerful way, So, but that's the biggest thing that I really have wanted to impress upon you is to be able to support your children in them doing and living their joy, and that can be anything, and I think that's lovely. And when you see them learn how to give to others, and they learn how to love passionately, that'll be awesome. And the challenge of preparing your children to be in a monogamous relationship. And when I talk, and being an advocate of marriage, doesn't mean that I'm an advocate of marriage licensing. No, I don't recommend that. What you have right to do, you should not ask government to sanction. Marriage is a right. It's a spiritual thing. It has nothing to do with civil unions or anything like that. And listen, listen to me carefully, okay? You do not have to have a license to be married. And I don't care what attorney. Listen, people will say, well, is that what an attorney say? Listen, don't put too much emphasis on an attorney. Attorneys know about as much about rights as doctors know about how your body works. Like that.
Court.
Yeah. And Supreme Court, yeah, we here's the Supreme Court's easy to handle. And here's the idea about Supreme Court. Okay, wherever they've secured rights, spot on. That's lovely. Wherever they don't, and they empower government, void for vague, void, nonsensical, stupid. And the Supreme Court is not the highest court in the land, both state or federal. The highest court in the land is our representatives, which is called the General Court. Our representatives are higher. How do you know that? Because that court is supposed to impeach judges. Okay. And just on a side note, all Supreme Court cases, all of them without exception, should be unanimous. End of story, full stop. The reason that is because if you have a decision 5-4, let's say it's in your favor, what are we going to do with these 4 that either don't understand the Constitution or are enemies against it? We should impeach them.
The other 5 don't.
Well, either way, you got to examine if you cannot be okay with a 5-4 decision or whatever. It's not okay. And then so, either they're going to work it out in some capacity. Then again, I don't mind if Supreme Courts get into like the octagon and they duke each other. Listen, it'd be entertaining. Don't you think judges should duke it out? Yeah, that would be pretty something. Well, that might be too fast. You got to draw it out a little bit.
Rubber swords.
Yeah. And of course, if there's female judges, they're equal. They should be able to duke it out too. Yeah. It's not a problem. That would be good. We can have
Hunger Games. Come on.
Yeah, so if a Supreme Court judge gets knocked out or taken out, doesn't make it through the octagon, well, then you just have the Senate, screen the next appointment. That's not a problem. When was the last time, Greg, that a Supreme Court judge, both state or federal, was impeached because they didn't uphold the Constitution?
I can't remember.
You mean since the history of America, every Supreme Court judge, everyone upholds the Constitution?
No, but I don't know that any that have been.
No consequence.
Right.
They take an oath, right?
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Doesn't make sense to me.
Nope.
Pretty wacky.
Pretty wacky.
Anyway, so and you know why it's okay? It's because it's okay with you. You're not outraged. You're not like, because if the reps aren't saying this is unacceptable and do something about it, well, who cares? Who cares about the Constitution? So, yep, it's just a mess. So, anyway, that's what I wanted to say about preparing your children for freedom, is to prepare your children for their life. Help them get into something that makes money for them so that they can travel, go anywhere. Whatever they do, they can always do. Don't tie them down to a job. What someone said the acronym of job was just something out. Just outside of broke or something like that. Someone said the word job. And listen, having a job puts you into something that would be filing and paying. So that's why your politicians want you to have jobs, because they're getting money, not because they care about you. They get a piece of everybody's action. That's why they care about jobs. You don't think that they really care that you have jobs. They're getting you. You're their goose that lays the golden egg and pays the central bankers interest and transfer payments on the debt. That's the reason there are jobs. And don't have your children participate in that. Those central banks that are the war machine. Do not give your labor to that. If even a faith-based belief is that God asks for 10%. Government doesn't ask. They just take it. And they tell you, figure out what your taxes are under penalty of perjury as true, correct, and complete. And if you're wrong, we're going to penalize you for that. How evil is that? So you don't want your children to participate in that. Don't let them start giving anything to the feds. And that's one of the benefits of doing their own thing. They can be liable for that stuff. Yeah. No, we did. We talked about that. So, yeah, don't start them on that either. So if you want to find out about the Social Security Act, it isn't a It's not social security at all.
Not mandatory.
It's not mandatory, and it's always been taxes just over broke. That's what it is, just over broke. That's a job. And it's always been a tax that you can choose not to pay. But when you're working for a corporation, that makes it easy for them to take it out. That withholding, that was genius. That was genius. Take it. Yeah.
Agents of the IRS.
Oh yeah. So there's that, and then it's senior welfare. It's welfare. They don't owe it to you. Read the 1935 Social Security Act. You'll know it's welfare. It's not. They're not setting aside your money and it's building interest and you're going to get it back. It's a crock of crap on every level. And there's plenty of people on Social Security that never paid in. And then there's people on Social Security that's not about the end. Listen, did you know that every child in which the father or the mother dies, they're on Social Security until they turn 18? That's a thing. Whether that's good or bad, I just don't think government should be involved with that kind of charity. It's just bad, because the truth is it's been mismanaged. There is no money there. It's just the kid at McDonald's is paying your way. It's just bad. It's debt. It's all that. Anyway, so that's some of that. All right, I want to get back into some of these questions. Are those still listed, those questions for you? All right, so they were talking about, and listen, thanks for tuning in if you were going to check out some of this stuff with respect to your kids. And we want to help you develop those mature relationships and teach your kids how to self-govern. I want to talk about trust. Someone says, how do you transfer vehicle in trust? Yeah, it's your change of title. If you don't, when you settle, I'm only talking about the trusts that are outside, that have no tax ID numbers, that don't have federal citizens. So I'm not talking about a trust a statutory trust like that. The trust that we have that we only do them with outside the District of Columbia and for our clients. But you have a title with an automobile. And so the idea is you have to change title, and you can do that wherever, because if you buy a car, there's a change of title, or at least there's a title generated. And so that's what you'll do. So whatever the name of your trust, you're going to move it into, the vehicle into that trust. And that's how you do it. You just change title. Now you have to enter that record into your trust document on some capacity. There's a list of property you may have in the trust. And so so you're going to do that with the state if they have title. So it's weird that we've allowed government to hold title or to issue title. When you see that, it tells you that the state actually owns the property and you're like leasing it. That's really the way it works out, because then they tax you all the time on those kind of things, So it's just, we're practicing the feudal system. And just because we have attorneys all over the place means diddly squat, because they don't help us secure liberty and freedoms. Attorneys are not pushing government out of your way. That doesn't mean that there's not good attorneys. He needs a tissue.
They're all trained by it.
So they're not pushing government at bay, and they're not protecting you from government. They're just transferring one party to another. So attorneys are useless with respect to that. And that doesn't mean that every attorney doesn't care about liberty and freedom. I mean, you saw Serpico. No, was it Serpico? No. Justice for All. Yeah, Justice for All, He's like, you're in contempt, So that's a good one. Yeah, I like that one. Anyway, Serpico was the one Al Pacino played a cop. That was a funny one. Yeah. Anyway, so anyway, this is about the trust. There was another question about trust. What was that? There was another question about trust. Can we have? Yes, we do set up trust for our clients. We set up not just a managing trustee, but we have what they call adversarial trustees. But every one of the trustees in the trusts have done these processes. They're not federal citizens. If someone is a federal citizen, then that trust is in federal jurisdiction with respect to courts and summons. Okay. So the federal government has jurisdiction over a trust that has a tax ID number, which we don't do. But if there's a federal citizen as a trustee, then the federal government has jurisdiction over that, understandably, because that citizen is governed in every aspect of their life without exceptions. Bizarre, wacko, but that's what people keep choosing, to being citizens of the District of Columbia, a 14th Amendment citizen. So yeah, so that's with respect to trust. And but again, if we're gonna do trust for you, our trusts are usually about $3,000, and but you'll have to do a passport process and all that, so we can make sure you're out of the federal zone. So that's there. Was there another question? No. Okay, that's good. So, well, listen, I'm glad you're on tonight. So next week, I won't be here, so we won't do a client call, and we won't be doing that unless, of course, we find some substitute. But we'll send out a notice if we're going to do something for next week. But depending on when my friend Greg is leaving, we may do a special broadcast and come in. And I'm sure. Listen, Greg was part of Destination Freedom. Remember when we were working the radio stuff, we were doing something at the Holiday Inn. Yeah, we have pictures of that stuff. So we've been around, you know. So yeah, so we've been talking freedom and stuff for years. That's some of the stuff that came together. I think our wives knew each other first, and then they said, "Hey, you might like Chris Gronsky," you know, and so we hooked up, and it's only because we sing together did it generate a bromance. So that works out, right? You know, so we play all that music from Pippin, you know. Anyway, but it's good. So I'm glad he's here. He's visiting for a short time before he gets back to the island. It's a little warmer in Belize right now, right? Yeah, it's a little warmer. So he's up here. It's up. It was we were driving away, and it's 68 degrees up here in New Hampshire. That's a little chilly for you.
Cold. That's cold.
That's so bad. So, all right. Well, thanks so much. Let me just make sure we get. I can do this. All right, I got us right here. So listen, enjoy this next song as we vacate. Be sure to like and subscribe, and let us know that you appreciate some of this stuff. And we'll see you next time on Destiny. Oh, before we walk out, when we come back, when we do next in September 10th, I'm going to have one of our clients that has chemical-free body is his website. And this is a guy that is a master in the area of health and good products that have no chemicals and stuff like that. So he's going to be on. We're going to interview him, let you know about that. But that'll be on the 10th of September. So be sure to stick around for that. We'll do live with that. That'll be a good time. So that'll be next time we get together. All right. All right. So we'll see you soon. Enjoy this Poker Face song. I'd rather die than be a slave. Right. So we'll see you.
To pass away, but life presents such possibilities each and every day. I heard a calling that was right for me. I prayed for strength for what's ahead of me. Show me the sun rose high and burnt the night away. Who stood before me was my enemy. Don't tread on me. He's come to take away my liberties. I'd rather die than be a slave to thee. Don't treat me this way. I'd rather die than be your slave. I will survive. And you feel my rage. It's not a question of being brave. I'd rather die than be your slave. Didn't matter who shot first that day. They killed my brothers, they lay dead by me. We hit them hard, we made them pay that day. We We hung the traitors from the highest trees. Mercy from no mercy from me. We lost a lot, our pain was heavy. We sacrificed for God and country. No more colony. Still held the ground that was in front of me. This was the price to pay for liberty. Still you hear me say